$35,000 family dream trip to Europe. The shocking moment my sister revealed, "I forgot your ticket." Sarah's heart raced, anticipating the sunrise of her long-dreamed family trip to Europe, an adventure she meticulously orchestrated for months. The budget, the itinerary, and even outfits were lined up like a well-rehearsed symphony, each detail designed to reassure her aging parents and bond her quirky siblings over art and history. The glow of the evening light flickered with promise until her phone buzzed. Within seconds, her joy twisted into disbelief. "I forgot your ticket." Emily's text felt like an anchor sinking into her gut, pulling all hope down with it. Months of planning, moments of joy, all threatened to evaporate in a spring breeze. "Emily, how could you?" Her fingers trembled, recalling years spent ensuring she fulfilled responsibilities for their family, while Emily danced through life with an unrepentant casualness. Memories of long nights spent preparing lesson plans rushed forward, colliding with the sudden heaviness lodged in her chest. How could loyalty and duty weigh so heavily when enthusiasm and ambition often saw no bounds? But here it was, the chilling confrontation of her reality, revealed in a few careless words. The image of sharing gelato in Paris felt cruelly out of reach. She sprawled her fingers across the dining table, a blend of papers and educational projects surrounding her, each piece a testament to her endless devotion to the classroom. Yet there she was, paralyzed by the thought of a lost ticket. A feeling of dread festering in her stomach threatened to obliterate the dreams painted in vibrant oils she'd created for her students. Was love strong enough to keep their family together amidst negligence and burdens she carried alone? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With breaths uneven, she accelerated into action, searching ticket options, calculating costs, and wincing at rising anxiety. She envisioned Emily's carefree laughter, the laughter that often reminded her how much she resented being the responsible sister. This was supposed to be a gift for all of them, siblings bound by the thrill of discovery, not fraying threads of a relationship hanging on the precipice of disappointment. Her mind echoed with the pangs of resentment. Why does it always fall on me? Each failed ticket check tightened the grip of frustration around her heart. How could Emily treat this trip as an afterthought? The idea of sitting in her own state while everyone else explored the art of the Louvre or the streets of Rome painted a picture of loneliness. The clock ticked ominously, with each tick resonating in Sarah's core. Would she find some way to make this right? Could their tripping together actually repair the years of unspoken expectations? The path forked violently in her mind, laden with doubt and desperation mingled with hope. As the seconds dwindled, Sarah felt the divide between their worlds weighed down by obligations she bore like burdens while Emily remained unscathed. Would she allow herself to be left behind? Or could she reclaim her rightful place in this adventure? The answer lingered just out of her grasp, leaving a fragile promise of an uncharted tomorrow. Panic settled in, a thick fog that clouded Sarah's thoughts as she clutched the edge of the table, trying to center herself. This wasn't just about a ticket. It was about her place in the family, the roles they had drawn for themselves, and the anxieties trapped under the facade of enthusiasm. Time wasn't just running out, it was mocking her. "Breathe," she whispered to herself, unable to shake the thought that she had spent years building everyone else's dreams while sidelining her own. She pictured Emily flitting carelessly through life, yet never receiving the ire she so easily cultivated in the mirror of their family dynamics. Why did she bear the heavier load when it felt as if the whimsies of her sister carried no interpretation of responsibility? But this was not the moment for self-pity. This was the moment for action. With determination anchoring her resolve, Sarah swiped through her phone, scrolling through travel sites with a practiced urgency until her fingers stilled at the sight of a flight. A glimmer of hope ignited within her. But the costs loomed like dark clouds. Her heart raced as she calculated, would it be possible to salvage this? A ticket here, a shifting budget there. The potential outcome varied by the second as her mind whipped through solutions. One flickered with intrigue, a way to confront Emily. She had held back from vocally questioning her sister's languid approach to their shared lives. choosing instead to embrace silence. But this was a moment of reckoning. Sarah's growing fears of being sidelined transformed into a need for confrontation. Maybe this is exactly what our family needs to discuss, she thought, a spark igniting an unexpected courage. Dialing Emily's number, her heart thudded, fueled by a mix of frustration and an unfamiliar anticipation. When Emily picked up, her casual tone grated against Sarah's simmering anger. "I thought we were all in this together," she started, her voice steady in contrast to the turmoil within. "How could you simply forget my ticket?" Silence stretched painfully between them, only to be filled by Emily's hesitant explanation. "I was caught up. I thought I had it all sorted." Each word from her sister deepened the chasm of disappointment Sarah had felt grow over the years. "No, Emily, this isn't about just you," Sarah pressed, glancing at the papers strewn about her table, reminders of the work and energy she poured into their family. "I held this together. I've always held this family together. Can't you see that?" Something shifted in the atmosphere, a crack in Emily's facade. Sarah caught a glimpse of confusion, maybe even guilt. The realization began to dawn on her sister. The truth had been underscored by Sarah's unyielding strength, yet remained unnoticed until now. "Maybe it's time you realized I am not just a safety net for your whims," Sarah continued, her heart racing with guilt and determination, pushing through the words she had kept to herself for too long. As their conversation peeled back years of pretense, Sarah recognized her own vulnerabilities merging with the groundwork of her role within the family. It wasn't solely about the trip anymore, but rather asserting her worth and her right to not be overlooked. Would this revelation foster newfound understanding, or would it deepen the rift further? The faint hope of a reshaped relationship flickered before her, igniting a zeal she hadn't known existed. By the conversation's end, Sarah hung up knowing this was a pivotal juncture. Could her effort to confront the unrecognized dynamics within her family steer them toward a path of real connection? Determined to redefine her boundaries and roles, she had taken the first step. Would they embrace the shifts, or was she destined to remain the familial anchor while others sailed freely? Decisions swirled in her mind, the weight of their relationship testing her resolve as she settled back into reality. The phone buzzed again, another message from Emily. The anticipation tore through her. It was time to prepare for whatever unveiling lay ahead. Sarah stared at her phone, the message from Emily glowing like a beacon of uncertainty. "Can we talk?" It read, simple yet heavy with implication. A knot formed in her stomach, a mixture of anxiety and anticipation swelling within her. The conversation had awakened something deep inside her, a latent desire for respect and acknowledgement that had festered under years of being the dependable daughter and sister. She took a slow, deliberate breath, trying to ground herself in the moment. The inevitability of their confrontation loomed over her like an unknowing storm, a mix of fear and exhilaration, as she grasped the weight of her own frustrations and aspirations. Sarah was tired of navigating her sister's whims, of being the one to smooth over familial discord while quietly sacrificing her own dreams. Suddenly, her own ambitions were not just echoes of past aspirations. They screamed for recognition. While waiting for Emily to arrive, Sarah moved nervously about the apartment, tidying the same surfaces she had overlooked in her fraught state. It was a ritualistic distraction, a way to channel her restlessness into something productive. Yet even now, as she arranged the clutter, her mind spiraled through thoughts of how to approach Emily. What if this conversation strained their relationship further? What if her sister failed to understand? The questions were endless, and for a moment she felt the familiar, suffocating grip of panic. But she quickly reminded herself of the progress she had made, the steps she had taken to reclaim her voice. Every detail of their bond spoke volumes, but what had long been a comfortable silence now felt like a chasm. It was time to challenge the dynamics that had been in place for far too long. This wasn't just about the ticket. It was about forging a new identity, one that included her own dreams and desires, not just Emily's. The doorbell chimed, slicing through her thoughts like a knife. Gathering her breath, she opened the door to find Emily standing there, her expression a mix of surprise and hesitation. "Hey," her sister said softly. "Come in." The invitation was steady, mirroring her resolve. They settled into the living room, the air thick with unsaid words and charged emotions. Sarah's heart raced as she took a seat opposite Emily. This was the threshold of change. She could either retreat into her previous role, or step boldly into uncharted territory. "I got your message," she began, hoping to keep the tone light despite the tension simmering beneath the surface. "I thought we should talk after." "Well, after everything that happened." Emily nodded, her gaze dropping for a moment. "I'm sorry about the ticket, really. I thought I had everything sorted, but I guess I didn't." There was a hint of vulnerability, a crack in Emily's previously unwavering confidence. "It's not just the ticket, Sarah said, the words pouring out before she could second-guess them. "It's about how you treat me, and how you seem to float along without considering my feelings. I've carried so much weight, and I've begun to realize it doesn't have to be this way anymore." The confession hung in the air, both terrifying and liberating. Emily looked up, her brow furrowing as she processed the depth of Sarah's words. "I didn't know you felt that way," she finally replied, her voice barely above a whisper. There was a spark of something unidentifiable in Emily's eyes, understanding or perhaps realization that their long-standing family patterns were not set in stone. Yet, as Sarah readied herself to confront the pervasive patterns that had long governed their relationship, she could feel the ground beneath her shifting. Would this be a start for them, or merely a detour into old behaviors? The question loomed larger than before, a magnetic pull into the unknown as they sat across from each other. The prospect of openness lay tantalizingly close. But with the unearthing of such truths came the risk of deeper divides. Sarah felt emboldened yet wary, aware that this could either push her sister away or forge a new foundation for their relationship. "Let us figure this out together," she said, her voice steady, taking a step into that new territory, yet uncertain of where it might lead them. Would they emerge into a new understanding or retreat to the safety of their old roles? The moment was thick with potential, each breath shared between them a whisper of hope and trepidation, as they began to navigate the uncharted waters of family dynamics, with no certainty of where the journey would take them. The stakes were higher than ever, and for Sarah, the time for evasions had passed. Would this be the turning point that upended their long-standing dynamics, or merely a fleeting moment of clarity before they fell back into old habits? Sarah felt the heavy air begin to shift as Emily absorbed her words, and for the first time, she noticed the tremor in her sister's hands. The small details, Emily's clenched fists, the way she rarely met Sarah's gaze, no longer seemed trivial. They painted a portrait of her sister's own uneasiness, a parallel struggle echoing in the silence between them. "Are you upset with me?" Emily asked, her tone drifting into uncertainty. It struck Sarah that this might be a question less about the ticket and more about the history binding them. What had been a mere misunderstanding now hinted at a deeper fissure, one that threatened to crack open the core of their relationship. "Yes," Sarah confessed, the word heavy on her tongue. If she was going to claim her voice, honesty had to be the foundation. "It's not just this. It feels like I've always been in your shadow." The truth spilled over like a long-dammed river, a rush of confessions and frustrations. Emily flinched at the implications. "Sarah, I never intended for you to feel that way. I thought we were supporting each other." The sentiment was familiar, and for every comforting memory Emily brought forward, there lay a counterweight of grievances Sarah had bottled up. The expectations, the sacrifices made without question, often for the sake of keeping the peace. "What you think is support," Sarah stated firmly, "is actually just another set of chains locking me into a role I didn't choose." Each sentence hardened her resolve. This dynamic had been so long and twisted that Sarah had grown accustomed to its weight, until she wasn't sure who she was without it. Emily's eyes widened, the sincerity of her bewilderment creating an opening for a real conversation. "What do you want from me?" she asked, genuine curiosity spilling into the space between them. "I want to feel valued, Em. I want you to see me, not just as your sister, but as someone with her own dreams and desires." This revelation pushed against years of passive compliance, carving a new identity from the ashes of her past satisfaction. Emily leaned back, visibly grappling with Sarah's emerging assertiveness. The confrontation was intense, charged with the possibility of clashing or reaching a new understanding. Sarah's heart sank and floated simultaneously. The familiar fear of rejection nipped at her resolve, but she held her ground. "What if I fall back into old habits? What if I don't know how to be the sister you need?" Emily's admission was laced with both vulnerability and fear, and it resonated within Sarah. Then we have to figure that out together without fear of judgment, Sarah responded, taking a step further into the unknown. I can't be the sister you expect me to be anymore. It makes me feel invisible. With each word, Sarah felt the chains loosening, the possibilities unfurling like leaves in spring. The interplay of their vulnerabilities opened a new space for both of them. Could they really reshape their relationship? She remembered nights spent dreaming about her future, visions dimmed by the shadows of their past. The conversation wasn't just a confrontation, it was an invitation for dialogue. Sarah was slowly realizing that these discussions could forge new strategies, not just for her but for Emily too. What if we define what support means for both of us? Emily began tentatively. The idea felt like a tentative truce forming. I want you to follow your dreams, but I also want you to feel that I'm here for you, ready to listen. Could this be the beginning of a partnership rather than a competition? The thought sent a flicker of hope through Sarah. The risk was still there, but vulnerability now had a voice. Before she could respond, a sudden rush of emotion caught her off guard. They were both asking for something more profound, a commitment to meet each other halfway, to turn uncertainty into a shared adventure. The moment felt fragile, like a new leaf hanging on the cusp of spring. But with the promise of change came the weight of history. Would they collaborate in earnest or stray back into familiar patterns of indifference and misunderstanding? As she considered the implications, her phone chimed, breaking the moment. It was a new message, a reminder of unpreparedness in the outside world. With Emily's question hanging palpably in the air, Sarah's heart raced. She found herself at a precipice, both terrified and elated. Each decision felt monumental now, poised to either unravel the fabric of their bond or weave new connections. It was clear that the path ahead required courage and commitment on both sides. As Emily shifted closer, their eyes finally locking with a shared agreement of sorts, Sarah wondered if this was the catalyst for something bigger. To reframe their relationship was one thing, but could they venture into realms of deeper vulnerability and honesty? Or would the familiar shadows chase them back into complacency? The answer loomed just beyond their reach, teasing out the possibilities that lay ahead. Sarah's phone buzzed again, jolting her back to reality. The message was from her manager, Tony, reminding her about the team meeting scheduled for later that day. The weight of their conversation hung heavy in the air, but the professional world loomed with its own demands. I need to take this, she muttered, instinctively distancing herself from the personal turmoil. Yet as she walked away, Sarah felt an inner tug, a growing awareness that she could no longer compartmentalize her life. The professional realm had always been her safe haven, a place where her assertiveness had happily overruled her doubts. As she cleared her mind for the meeting, however, that confidence seemed insubstantial. What would she even say? A kernel of insecurity began to emerge, something she hadn't felt in a while. Embracing her voice at home opened up the haunting question. Was she truly ready to do the same in her career? The meeting room buzzed as her teammates filled the seats. Presentations flickered on the screen. Numbers and statistics blended into jargon that felt increasingly distant to Sarah. However, while she should have been focused, her mind kept drifting back to Emily's said commitment. Could this be the beginning of her independence, and could it translate into her work as well? As Tony began his presentation on a recent project, Sarah felt a pang of urgency inside her. She had ideas to share but felt trapped beneath the layers of expectation and fear. Raising her hand, she interjected with an idea about the client approach strategy that had been gnawing at her. The room fell silent, eyes shifting to her with curiosity and a touch of surprise. It's a different angle, but I think we should consider it. Came out softer than she intended, but a wave of adrenaline surged through her. Each word felt like a pebble cast into the still waters of her team's usual routine. Their expressions shifted from surprise to contemplation. It was just a suggestion, but as the discussion unfolded, she realized it carried more weight than expected. Colleagues began to build off her idea, a collective energy sparking in the room. With each interaction, Sarah felt a flicker of her earlier resolve returning. The dynamics shifted from a passive audience to a collaborative endeavor. But then doubt crept back in, muddling her thoughts. Was she playing a dangerous game of overstepping? Or worse, revealing weaknesses? A brief but powerful reminder of past discomfort surfaced. She'd often been told to let others lead, to blend into the background. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Tony acknowledged her contribution with a nod, emphasizing how novel the approach was. A round of applause broke out, and Sarah swallowed her surprise. It was thrilling and terrifying all at once, an affirmation that she had a place not only at home but in her professional life too. After the meeting, feedback poured in from her peers, all validation of her battle to step out of her own shadow. Yet, as she basked in the moment, the thought of Emily lingered, tugging at her emerging confidence. Would she be able to sustain this new direction? Walking out of the office, Sarah felt the weight of possibility on her shoulders. She opened a channel of assertiveness, not just with Emily but also within her professional world. But as she looked ahead, the question persisted. Could she sustain this dual engagement, balancing the evolution of her personal identity with the demands of her career? The drive home was filled with swirling thoughts, dreams to chase, battles to fight. She contemplated how each decision might cascade into changed friendships and workplace dynamics. As she parked, Sarah realized she was blazing a trail of resilience, but it was fraught with the challenge of uncertainty, not only with Emily but also in the face of professional expectations. Just as she stepped into the house, a message notification vibrated her phone again. This time it wasn't her manager but an unexpected number. Curious, she clicked it open, her breath catching at the subject line. "We need to talk about your proposal." What did that mean? The air crackled with anticipation, and Sarah felt the familiar flutter of anxiety. In choosing this path, she had ignited more than just conversations. She had stirred up inevitable confrontations, likely both in her family and her career. Was she ready to face the full weight of what lay ahead? The next morning, Sarah replayed the message in her mind like a stubborn, catchy tune. "We need to talk about your proposal." The ambiguity echoed against the backdrop of her rising hopes. Did they want to proceed with her idea? Or was it a polite way to quash her enthusiasm, to reinstate order within the usual hierarchy? She dressed with an unusual urgency, the fabric of her blouse brushing against her skin as a reminder of her evolving identity. The mirror reflected someone on the edge, not just of a meaningful dialogue in the workplace, but on the precipice of embracing change in all areas of her life. Her career was blossoming with opportunities, yet the shadows of self-doubt still lurked close. She arrived at the office. The routine buzzed around her, but she felt isolated within her thoughts. Every corner thrummed with the chatter of colleagues. Still, their voices sounded distant as she steeled herself for an impending confrontation. Anxiety coursed through her veins, the uncertainty about what Tony and the others might say gnawing at her. When she entered the conference room, Tony was already there, his brow furrowed in concentration over a laptop filled with spreadsheets. "Morning, Sarah," he greeted without looking up. "Glad you're here." "Morning," she replied, the word feeling faint in her throat. Sitting down, she clasped her hands together, the gesture both a means of grounding herself and a method to conceal the tremor in her fingers. It didn't take long for the conversation to turn. Tony finally looked up, a flicker of recognition breaking across his face. "So, about your client strategy," he began, pausing just long enough to ensure she was locked in. "We'd like to integrate some of your ideas into our next presentation." Relief washed over her momentarily, but the nagging doubt clung to the edges. "That's great," but she hesitated, unsure whether to voice the voice of uncertainty. "I mean, what about the risks? Has anyone else expressed reservations?" Tony's demeanor shifted. "Every proposal comes with risks, Sarah. The real question is whether we believe in the potential." He regarded her with an intensity that pierced through her uncertainty. "And I do. You've got something real here." As the meeting continued, she felt a shift within herself. With each passing minute, her confidence swelled, but so did the weight of immense expectation. This moment was not merely about the proposal. It felt like a launchpad for her burgeoning assertiveness. Yet, inner voices wrestled with her newfound resilience, echoing past warnings about pushing boundaries. Days blended into one another as Sarah propelled herself through small victories. She collaborated more often, addressing colleagues' concerns with transparency, igniting conversations that sometimes led to heated debates. Each interaction was a strand in a delicate web of professional relationships she was weaving, and with each connection, she felt herself growing stronger. However, the ramifications of her assertiveness enveloped her home life too. Emily had changed since their last conversation, her earlier commitment to their relationship now shadowed by questions. Sarah's South Newfound drive left a stark contrast. A dissonance that fueled both her ambition and her personal turmoil. One afternoon, foot tapping anxiously during a conference call, Sarah's phone buzzed a message from Emily. "We need to talk," it read. No exclamation points, no emojis, just the stark implications of uncertainty. Sarah's heart raced as she locked her phone, two ominous conversations looming over her. One in the professional realm, fueled by growth, and the other in her personal life, ripe with conflict. The question clawed at her mind. Could she balance rising in her career while mending fragile connections at home? A quiet resolve settled in her. As she walked away from her desk, she thought of the differences between ambition and hesitation, each battle requiring strength, each choice a possible shift in her future. As she headed out to confront her sister, she wrestled with what she was about to embrace. Would their conversation be one of conflict, or of clarity? Sarah took a deep breath, ready to face the feedback of both her career and her heart. This time, no matter the outcome, she felt it. Uncertainty was just a step toward empowerment, albeit a fragile one. Facing each challenge head-on was her path forward, but at what cost? Her heart raced with anticipation as she stepped into the unknown. The confrontation loomed large in Sarah's mind. Each step toward Emily felt like trudging through thick fog. The sunlight streamed through the cracks of her anxiety, illuminating the reality of her situation. She rolled her shoulders back, forcing herself to adopt a posture of confidence rather than the frail uncertainty that threatened to engulf her. Upon arriving at Emily's apartment, Sarah hesitated at the door. A deep breath momentarily calmed the rise of her pulse. She knocked, the sound echoing in the quiet of her sister's haven. When the door swung open, Emily's smile felt tentative, unsteady, a mirror of the discord between them. "Hey, come in," Emily said softly, her tone lacking its usual brightness. The air in the room was thick, a prelude to the deeper discussion looming ahead. As they settled onto the couch, Sarah searched for the words that would bridge the growing chasm between them. "You said we needed to talk," Sarah ventured, her voice steadier than she felt. Emily nodded, biting her lower lip as she glanced away. "Yeah, I felt a bit distant lately. You know, things have changed since you've become so focused on your work." The words were a tightrope walk, each one carefully selected, yet taut with underlying tension. "Is it because of my new project?" Sarah asked, the defense in her tone slipping through. "I thought you'd understand I needed this." "It's not just that," Emily replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I feel like I don't know you anymore. You're chasing something and I'm not even sure what it is." Caught off guard, Sarah's heart sank. "I'm chasing my dreams, Em. I want us to have a better future, a future where we aren't struggling. But at what cost?" Emily's gaze sharpened, a mirror reflecting the conflict Sarah felt within herself. "What about us? I miss the times we used to spend together. This whole career push, it's changing you and I don't know how to fit in anymore. Do you want me to stop?" The question hovered in the air between them, heavy with implications. It felt like asking for permission to dream, to grow. Each word ignited both a fear of losing her ambition and the fear of losing her sister. "No," Emily said quickly, "but I need you to balance it. I need my sister back, the one who made time for family." Sarah's mind raced. She began to articulate a plan, an idea that could provide space for both her ambitions and the relationship that mattered deeply to her. "What if we made a weekly ritual, like a dinner together every Thursday?" Sarah suggested, surprised by the weight of her own conviction. "I can show you updates on my project. Maybe we can even work on a project together?" A flicker of warmth returned to Emily's expression. "I would love that. It's just I want to feel included, like I'm part of your journey, not the spectator." For the first time in weeks, Sarah felt a thread of hope stitching their relationship back together. "I'll invite you to more meetings too. Your perspective always grounds me." As they spoke, unraveling each layer of emotion, Sarah felt herself growing. She could see the possibilities ahead, where ambition could harmonize with compassion and connection. Yet, doubt still folded itself into her thoughts. Was this enough to repair the rift? That night, as she lay in bed, thoughts spiraled. The weight of both her professional and personal life tugged at her. She needed a plan. No more fragmented pieces. The next day, an email pinged into her inbox, a meeting request from Tony regarding the upcoming presentation. The urgency felt electric. Could she intertwine her newfound clarity about family with her professional life? As Sarah stared at the screen, the weight of that realization hit her. More than her sister, more than the proposal, it was about integrating her life as a whole. But just as determination sparked within her, another message arrived, this time from her boss, demanding an urgent answer about an investment strategy. The urgency built within her as she grasped the stakes of both conversations. Sarah closed her eyes, the tension of the dual paths weighing heavy on her heart. How could she navigate both the impending professional meeting and the lingering familial tensions? A decision would have to be made, and instinctively, she knew she was on the verge of a pivotal moment. With a determined lungful of air, she opened her laptop, ready to confront both challenges head-on. But in the silence of her room, a familiar thought surfaced: could she balance it all without collapsing under the pressure? As she clicked through her messages, a new email drew her attention, and her breath caught. There, in black and white, lay an opportunity that could change everything. She felt the flutter of anxiety, but also the thrill of possibility building up inside her. What would she choose next? The laptop had become a portal, displaying both the promise of a professional breakthrough and the unsettling reminder of her familial commitments. As Sarah blinked at the email from Tony, her mind raced with a mixture of anticipation and dread. This was the moment she'd been working toward, a pivotal presentation that could solidify her career trajectory. Yet, contrastingly, the familial tensions with Emily lingered like a specter, threatening to overshadow her achievements. With a few swift keystrokes, she composed a response to Tony, outlining her ideas for the presentation while mentally preparing for the conversation with her sister. The instinct was there, a deep understanding that she needed to integrate both dimensions of her life. Nevertheless, a gnawing doubt tugged at her. Could she truly manage both her ambition and her personal connections? The pressure mounted like the weight of two heavy stones pressing down on her shoulders. After hitting send, Sarah paused to breathe, letting the quiet of her room envelop her. She allowed herself to reflect on the conversation she had shared with Emily, the genuine connection they had rekindled. A wave of determination surged within her. She had made a commitment, and for the first time, she believed it was possible to merge her aspirations with nurturing her relationship with her sister. The clock on her wall ticked, unfurling the minutes, and the urgency prompted a frantic energy within her. She grabbed a notepad and began outlining her thoughts for the presentation. Each bullet point blossomed with purpose, ideas cascading into one another. But every so often, fragments of doubt would weave into her positivity. Was she betting too much on this presentation? What if it failed to impress Tony? What if it pushed Emily further away? Before she could spiral into negativity, Sarah leaned back, taking both a mental and physical break. The soft light from the window felt warm, casting golden rays across her notepad. She recalled the importance of personal relationships in shaping her journey, how they had infused her with resilience during trying times. Her phone buzzed, pulling her from the reverie. It was Emily, asking if they could finalize their dinner plans for Thursday. The weight of the conversation lingered, but with each interaction, Sarah felt lighter. She knew she had to be present, not just physically but mentally. Her sister deserved her full attention, and this ritual was pivotal, not just for mending their relationship but for anchoring Sarah in a world that often felt chaotic. Ignoring the creeping anxiety about the presentation, Sarah texted back, confirming their appointment and suggesting they explore some new recipes together. She noticed a shift within herself. It was more than a balancing act, it was a commitment to understanding that her success wouldn't be hollow if it cost her the bond she cherished. Feeling a bolt of motivation, she returned to her laptop, ready to reconvene with her presentation notes. This time, each strategy carried a weight of understanding. The pressure was still there, but it transformed into a focused determination. She began crafting her pitch, considering how her unique perspective, enhanced by the familial connection, could bring a fresh take to the table. As she revisited her material, an unexpected insight struck her. Each point she presented could carry a deeper personal message about collaboration, resilience, and balancing ambitions, aligning it with her newfound resolution to prioritize family. This epiphany lit a fire beneath her. The presentation could tell a story transcending numbers and strategies. It could reflect who she had become in the process. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across her desk as she put the finishing touches on her slides. But as soon as she closed her laptop, her phone buzzed again. This time it was an alert from a networking group she had recently joined, announcing a last-minute workshop on investment strategies featuring a well-known industry leader. The timing was both exhilarating and alarming. Attending would add another layer of complexity to her busy week. Caught between the allure of professional advancement and her promise to Emily, Sarah found herself at a crossroads yet again. In this moment of decision, she couldn't help but wonder, would choosing one over the other jeopardize her integrity or bring balance into her life? The stakes had never felt higher. A sense of urgency pulsed in Sarah's veins as she processed the workshop's implications alongside her commitment to Emily. This was not just any opportunity. It represented a substantial leap in her professional journey. Her thoughts tumbled, wrestling with her newfound resolve to prioritize family. How could she immerse herself in the workshop and be the supportive sister she intended to be? As the clock ticked on, she felt that familiar tension return, a mixture of excitement and dread coursing through her. She needed to make a decision, but the weight of potential choices pressed heavily on her heart. Turning away from the screen, she paced her small apartment, listening to the soft sound of her footsteps echo against the walls. This had become her method of processing, each step allowing thoughts to crystallize. Imagining the faces in the workshop, she contemplated what it would do for her career, networking with influential individuals, acquiring new skills and building credibility. But the image of spending quality time with Emily loomed over her like a thick fog, obscuring the clarity she craved. They had fought so hard to re-establish their connection. Abandoning their plans now felt like a betrayal. She paused, leaning against her kitchen counter, the cool surface grounding her. It hit her then. Perhaps this was not just about her conflicting commitments but rather about how she could embrace both worlds. Could she attend the workshop and still make room for her sister? The concept of duality settled within her, a breath of possibility amid the chaos. With newfound determination, she grabbed her phone and sent a message to Emily, suggesting they change their plans to accommodate her schedule. The reply came back quickly. A resounding yes, accompanied by excitement that made Sarah's heart swell. Emily expressed her willingness to adapt, showing the essence of their renewed relationship, a willingness to compromise. As the evening unfolded, Sarah immersed herself in the workshop. Each speaker resonated with her ambition, their stories intertwining with her own aspirations. However, amidst the excitement, she felt a disquieting realization awakening within her. The more she absorbed, the more she recognized the disparity between professional success and personal fulfillment. Conversations buzzed around her, filled with chatter about achievements and accolades. Yet, in the back of her mind, echoes of Emily's laughter lingered. Would any of these newfound skills matter if they came at the cost of her sister's company? Days passed, and she prepared her presentation, meticulously weaving elements from the workshop into her slides. The strategies felt sharper, the messages clearer, but a sense of duality echoed throughout her work. It was the story of resilience shared with Emily. It was the importance of nurturing connections while reaching for the stars. Each slide encapsulated not just statistics but a commitment to partnership, a personal pledge not to forget the ties that bound her to her sister. The hour before the presentation was a whirlwind. Sarah reviewed her notes, each page a testament to her growth, a blend of vulnerability and strength. She stood before the mirror practicing, yet her mind was unsettled. Just as she turned to close her laptop, her phone vibrated again. Another message from Emily, this one less jubilant, more hesitant. She disclosed a concern about their planned dinner, hinting at feeling overshadowed by Sarah's ambitions. The sting of uncertainty penetrated Sarah's newfound clarity, a visceral reminder of how easily bridges could be burned. A sinking realization dawned upon her. She was on the brink of losing both her sister and the integration she fought for. The stakes climbed higher as her heart raced. The moment of reckoning was upon her. Could she mend the rift before it surged beyond control? Or would she push too hard towards her goals, neglecting what truly mattered? The looming presentation was more than just a career milestone. It had transformed into a test of her values and priorities, one that left her vulnerable and questioning. In this moment, as she stood teetering on the edge of ambition and family ties, she wondered, was she strong enough to navigate both without losing herself in the process? In the wake of her impending presentation, Sarah found herself at the crossroads of personal ambition and familial bonds. It was a day filled with anticipation, each tick of the clock a reminder of the stakes rising alongside her career aspirations. Yet, as she straightened her carefully curated slides, her thoughts wandered back to Emily's most recent message. The unease crept into her heart like shadows, clouding her vision of success. Could I truly balance both worlds? She pondered, debating the value of her ambition against the pressing need to nurture her relationship with her sister. With resolve building within her, she grabbed her phone, sending a quick text to Emily. Let us have a heart-to-heart after my presentation. I want you to be part of this journey with me, she typed, her fingers trembling slightly. As she hit send, a flicker of hope ignited. Perhaps this was her first step toward transparency and connection. The presentation room buzzed with energy as colleagues gathered, the air thick with unspoken competition and camaraderie. Each face bore a fleeting mix of excitement and pressure, mirroring her own internal turmoil. Taking a deep breath, Sarah walked to the front, eyes scanning the audience until they settled on Tony. The silent acknowledgement of his expectation sharpened her focus, a reminder of her commitment to both her ambitions and family. What you see today is not just numbers and strategies. It's a reflection of what I've learned about myself, she began, her voice steady but passionate. As she spoke, threading experiences gleaned from the workshop into her narrative, something shifted within her. It felt different this time. She wasn't just presenting a project. She was sharing a part of her journey, a journey shaped by the desire to grow while ensuring the people she loved felt recognized. With each point she made, she infused warmth and relatability, weaving in her vision of collaboration both at work and in her life. The environment shifted, colleagues nodding along, engaged not just with data but with her sincerity. A moment of clarity washed over Sarah as she realized the essence of her presentation was deeply intertwined with her relationship with Emily, a dance between aspiration and connection. As she concluded, a wave of applause filled the room, a gratifying acknowledgement of her hard work. But even more satisfying was the realization that she had merged her identities seamlessly. The fear her ambition would overshadow family began to fade, replaced by confidence in her ability to manage both realms. After the presentation, her phone buzzed. Emily. I'm proud of you. Let us talk tonight, the message read. A wave of reassurance washed over her. Emily's support felt like an anchor amidst the shifting tides of change. That evening, seated around the familiar table, Sarah faced Emily, vulnerable yet empowered. I'm still figuring it all out, she started, her palms resting on the table. It's been hard to balance everything. And I want you to know your place is just as important as mine. Emily met her gaze, her expression softening. I appreciate you saying that. I felt lost in your shadow lately, but I want to be part of this journey. I want us to grow together. In that moment, a shift occurred, the air lightened, and a fragility gave way to hope. They shared their fears, dreams, and laughter, exploring the territory of mutual support and understanding that had long been dormant. With every word, each sister reached deeper into the other's heart, forging a new definition of their bond, one where ambition nourished connection instead of diminishing it. By the time they finished dinner, a shared vision blossomed. They crafted a schedule for weekly dinners, a ritual that promised to prioritize their relationship amid their individual pursuits. Each sister vowed to step into this new phase of life together, celebrating successes while lifting one another during trials. As Sarah settled into bed that night, a sense of peace enveloped her. She had achieved not only a professional milestone but had also illuminated a path toward a deeper familial connection. The tears gathered were ones of joy, a reflection of growth she had fought hard to claim. She wasn't just a sister becoming lost in duty. She was a promise fulfilled, revitalizing her dreams while standing shoulder to shoulder with Emily. Now she no longer felt torn. She was ready to thrive in her career, while cultivating the familial ties that invigorated her spirit. In the dawning light of a new day, as she awoke with renewed energy, Sarah understood she was not merely who she was yesterday but a vibrant tapestry of past aspirations, present actions, and ambitious dreams for the future. This was her moment, the moment of realizing that a life harmonized with love and ambition showcased her strength as an individual. She had conquered the shadows of doubt, proven her worth, and established a bond that now intertwined her sister's heart with her own aspirations. In that realization, she found solid confidence, a renewed sense of belonging, and a commitment to embrace the beautiful complexities of life unfolding before her. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.